I just had the pleasure of meeting one of the three creators of the XRP ledger, David Schwarz, at the Ripple Swell Conference in New York City. And I asked David a very direct and simple question. Is the XRP ledger ready for institutional adoption? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. But he gave me a very thorough and even technical, along with talking about regulations, very thorough response, and I want to break that down for you guys here in today's update. Now, before we get there, I am going to give you just a quick snapshot of our markets, a little bit of a pullback taking place, nothing to be concerned about. And after we do that, I'll go into the conversation that I had with David Schwarz. Once again, I want to thank Ripple for allowing me to attend the Swell Conference there in New York City. Had the pleasure of meeting David. After missing him at the last two XRP Las Vegas conferences, I was going to make sure that we got to meet David. And I had a simple question for him, and I think that you guys are going to like the answer. So let's get right on into it, folks. All of our community resources are at zachrector.com. Yesterday, we got the Kramer kiss of death, which is why the market's been coming back down, combined with the fact that the government is set to reopen today. So it's a buy the rumor, sell the news on the government shutdown. Just like we've been warning about a buy the rumor, sell the news on the XRP ETFs going live. That kind of got distorted on the XRP ETF, because it came so unexpected. The market really didn't have time to digest the news and have an understanding that the ETFs were going live, other than, for the past 2 weeks, really. We tracked it on October 24th when Canary updated. We broke that news, noted that the 20-day countdown had started. And so we knew in our little XRP echo chamber, in our little bubble over here, we all knew, but the rest of the world still doesn't know. It still doesn't understand that XRP ETFs, we got Canary Capital going live tomorrow, Bitwise set to follow next week, and this party's getting started. And the masses don't know, even most of the crypto space does not know and understand this. And so you didn't get quite as a dramatic buy the rumor, and I don't think that you'll get as much of a sell the news event. You will still get a little bit of a sell-off, I do believe, but it's not going to be the big dramatic one that we saw on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Remember, Bitcoin ran up about 80%, and then dumped 20% after the ETF went live. Ethereum didn't even really run up, but dumped 40% after their ETFs went live. I don't think that we're going to see that big of a pullback, but be prepared for a little bit of a sell-off. And in a separate video, I'm going to break down how that was one of the best buying opportunities on Bitcoin. After the ETFs went live, the sell the news event pulled it back to 38,000. If you would have bought Bitcoin at that point, you would have nearly doubled up as Bitcoin went to 74,000 in just 2 months. So hang in there, folks. It's looking good. And I think that this was a good post right here by Torre Corton. This is a trader guy that I've seen on my timeline from time to time, and I thought that he had a pretty good take right here. There's far too many altcoins at all-time lows for me to be bearish here. If we sweep the lows again, I will only become more bullish on alts. Key reminder, many alts have only had one bullish cycle and are in phases of leaving their first bearish cycle, a very similar predicament to a post-2020 environment, where many believed that altcoins would never recover and fan favorites such as XRP were believed to be dead. Boy, if somebody told you XRP was dead and not to buy it, they owe you money. They owe you a lot of money. You either believe that this is the end of everything, if you believe it's a bear market, or the birthing ground for the classic traits of every market cycle ending finishing mover, alt season. I said this will be the cycle Dino coins return from the dead. Lord behold Zcash and others flourish. Great run on Zcash, and hopefully you got some profits taken on that one. We already have the evidence taking place in front of us. And by the way, guys, this is what you want to see. Don't be upset that Zcash pumped and you don't have it, or a meme coin pumped, or, Litecoin. Well, Litecoin didn't move, but some Dino, old coin pumps. Celebrate it. Respect the pump. You want to see it. You want the liquidity. You want the activity. It rotates then into XRP. That's what happens next. In fact, this is exactly how every alt season has started, as the whispers of a bear market increase and all hope is lost. I mean, we don't have to go back far. Just go back to last year, October 2024, when everybody thought this was the end. If President Trump and pro-crypto Congress doesn't get in here, we're toast. And, XRP is never going to break above $2. That's what the traders were saying back then. Well, they were proven quite wrong, weren't they? Historically, These have always been the situations and moments I have patiently awaited to buy. Raise your hand if you bought the dip leading up to the swell conference that we warned about. 231, 222. Didn't even buy the lows at 206, but got close enough. Thank you very much for that buying opportunity. I can see lower, but I cannot see a bear market, not without the final phase. It's either the end of everything or the beginning of the end. I would like to place my bet something everyone said was going so much higher just last month isn't going anywhere yet. Plus, if I'm going to execute a position, risk within the market, it will be where the upside far outweighs the downside. That's where we're at. I can't promise you that, this is going to be a broad alt season that we've had historically where, 10,000 plus coins all pump in tandem, we all sing Kumbaya, and we all win. I don't think that this alt season is going to be like that. But we are going to get, as we have in every previous cycle, and the cycles are being disrupted. Make no mistake about it. The ETFs disrupted the cycle for Bitcoin. The ETFs are going to extend the cycle for XRP along with Clarity Act and Utility. We're not going into a long drawn out bear market, but we are going to get the typical cycle end, which is a blow off top for altcoins. It is going to happen. Is your altcoin going to make it? Well, the questions that I'm asking are, does it have ETFs going live? Are digital asset treasury companies putting it on its balance sheet? And do you have real institutional adoption? Now, this leads me to the question that I asked on David Schwarz. But before I get there, I'm going to flash the charts at you real quick. We're back to the 702 fib right here at $2.34. We did pull back to about 232 this morning, but I got this fib pulled from the structure that we found, right? Going back here, the lows on 220 and then up to $2.69. And so on this, I pulled a fib, and we've been respecting these fib levels ever since as we consolidate in this range. And for all the people saying like XRP does nothing but go up to 250 and then come back down, every time it goes up to 240 or 250, it just comes back down. It's like, bro, we've been ranging in this area for, let me zoom out on my chart, since October, right? Like, that's it. Like, yeah, since October. Because before that, we were up above 270, up at $3. So it was the October liquidation event that brought us down into this range. We've literally been ranging here since the October 10th liquidation event. This has been like a month of ranging between $2.20 and $2.60. And all these people are acting like we've been here for years. No, we haven't. You need to zoom out, and you need to take advantage of the buying opportunities that are presented. When we have hard data like we presented last night, if you missed my video last night, you need to watch it. This is the real data. This is the real analysis that should be going viral within the XRP community, where I compared the Bitcoin inflows that were coming in through the ETFs. Meanwhile, on the centralized exchanges, everybody was selling Bitcoin for the past year and a half while the ETFs have been live. All the Bitcoin hodlers and OGs that were going to hold Bitcoin forever, that's not what we're seeing in the data. The data shows us that the ETFs, Wall Street, and the boomers saved Bitcoin. Shout out to the boomers. We like boomers. Big fan of boomers. And the boomers are going to invest in XRP. By the way, the ETF investor, the avatar and psychology of the ETF investor is long-term, is seeking ROI, is looking for real utility, which is why you're about to see a rotation into XRP from Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, and then just new money pouring in as folks are waiting in their 401ks and retirement accounts to be able to hit that buy button on XRP ETFs. So we're wrapping up this consolidation in this range right here on the XRP price chart. Everything's looking fine, right? And respecting the 702 fib, I think that that's going to hold. Your lows probably came in this morning at 232, and we're about to start moving back up. Okay, this is a sell the news on the government shutdown ending. That's all this was. Market makers took advantage of that to liquidate some more folks. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Now, this brings me, as I said on my list of whether or not you're wondering, is my altcoin going to pump? Is it getting ETFs? Are digital asset treasuries putting it on its balance sheet? And is it getting real institutional adoption? This is my question for David Schwarz. And I want to give a shout out to Juan Oropeza. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce your name there, Juan. Huge shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you for grabbing this pic for me, along with some other great pictures that he got at XRP Community Night and at the Swell event. So huge shout out to Juan for capturing the pics here. But I said, had the pleasure of finally meeting David Schwarz at Ripple Swell. So, and I got to ask David a question and have a conversation with him. And I want to say thank you to David for taking the time. He gave me a very thorough explanation. I'm going to just simplify it and give you the straight answer here. And the question that I gave him was very simple. It was, hey, David, is the XRP ledger ready for institutional adoption, or do we need additional amendments passed for the XRP ledger? You know, folks are talking about wanting to add smart contracts. We have permission domains, permission dexes, lending. There's a few other amendments in the pipeline that make this interesting. And so the question was, you know, is the XRP ledger ready for institutional adoption today? Do we need more amendments, or do we need regulatory clarity, or a combination of the two? And David went on a very long and thorough explanation covering the technical answer to the question along with the regulatory answer to the question, which in short, the answer was yes, we are absolutely ready for institutional adoption. And as the motto of the Swell Conference was, it is happening now. And that was very prevalent, seeing all the banks and institutions in the room at Ripple Swell, right? So I kind of knew that we were ready for institutional adoption, but I wanted him to expand on, do we need these additional amendments? And there's a very vocal crowd in the XRP community that says we have to have smart contracts, we have to have all these other amendments for institutions to come in. And the answer is just, that's not true. And the simple answer that David gave me is that a lot of these institutions are just looking to do simple things. They're looking to do tokenized deposit coins, tokenized stable coins, tokenized real world assets. And so the XRP ledger is already, you know, we've had a DEX, a decentralized exchange, to trade these types of assets and issue these assets on since 2012. We were the first DEX, and many people don't even know that. And so when David, Jed McCaleb, and Arthur Brito created the XRP ledger, they created it with this intent so that anybody could issue tokens, create public pools of liquidity that they could add to or take from. And so the answer was simple. Yes, we are ready for institutional adoption. It is happening now because many of these institutions are just looking to do simple things. They're not actually looking to do all these complex operations. And, you know, at the XRP ledger base layer, right, at the layer one, we have all this functionality and programmability already built into it. We were late to get an AMM, but we now have it built in directly to the XRP ledger without smart contracts. But then he went on to say that what happens is we get these institutions into our ecosystem, we get them onboarded through stablecoins and RWAs, and that's what they're looking to start with. But then we can expand our ecosystem and our offerings with those additional amendments that I mentioned. And, you know, he mentioned that he's very excited about those amendments and how that is going to expand our ecosystem. But as of today, we are ready for the institutions today. In fact, many of them are already here to the extent at which they can come in and trial and run until we get regulations, which is the big hurdle. But the big hurdle and the big tailwind that Brad Garlinghouse keeps reminding us is not priced in. We are not pricing in this regulatory shift. And that is the Clarity Act passing, or a version of the market structure bill, which gives these institutions clarity. But I, wanted to ask David that question because there's just so much conversation in our space, in our community, about, are institutions actually coming to the XRP ledger, or are they choosing Ethereum or Solana because they have smart contracts and they have a few more features? And maybe they are, they are working on some of those platforms, but for the basic functions, issuing assets, tokenizing assets, and then building out liquidity pools for them, we're ready. We are absolutely ready to go. The second question that I got to ask him, and I felt bad because I felt kind of like I was hogging him because, I asked him this one question, he went on a long explanation, and then I asked him a follow-up question and he went on another long explanation, and it was like 10, 15 minutes had gone by and there's this big crowd around us, and I felt bad because I felt like I was hogging David, but it was good, really, really good insights from him. I asked him about his validator, which is not a validator, it's actually a hub. For those guys who don't know, he launched a hub on the XRP ledger. He's running a hub, and he's doing it to test and do all these things. And so I asked him if his validator was going to be added to the UNL list, and then he corrected me and said, well, it's actually not a validator, it's a hub. And he explained that, there's, you can't add a hub to the XRP Ledger UNL list. So he, educated me a little bit on that. But then he explained all the testing and all the things that he's been able to do with his hub and how important that is. And so that was interesting to get his insights on and his findings on what he's uncovered running this infrastructure for the XRP Ledger. And I'm really excited to see where David goes. A lot of people tried to FUD the news that he's stepping down as CTO. It's like he's not stepping down and leaving at all. He's being promoted to the board of Ripple. And then I think that he's also on the board of Evernorth, the new digital asset treasury company that's going to be ran by Ashish Birla. And then he's also set up this hub where he's running XRP Ledger infrastructure outside of Ripple. So he's just like back to the basics, back in the XRP Ledger code and infrastructure, testing, scaling, seeing where we have issues. It's a great space, a great spot to have David Schwarz, right? And so I'm very excited for this, watching the evolution of David working in the early days with Jed and Arthur Brito on creating the XRP Ledger, building out Ripple. And to me, it's kind of a job's finished. Now he gets to move on to other things. And so once again, thank you to Ripple and the team there for allowing me to come to Swell, have the opportunity to meet David, have this conversation with David Schwarz. And, the long and the short of it is, yes, we are absolutely ready for institutional adoption. And as soon as we get that regulatory clarity, you're about to see the full unveiling of all the plans that these banks and institutions have had for issuing assets and building out liquidity pools on the XRP Ledger. Yeah. So, folks, before we wrap up this session, I just want to let folks know we updated our link for iTrust Capital, our sponsor. So now we have a new link that's linked up at the top of the description. But instead of having a special promo code with my name, you no longer have to have the promo code. You just go to this link right here. You hit sign up to get started, and you get to claim your $100 funding bonus. So just make sure that you go through my link down below, sign up with our partner iTrust Capital, and you can invest using their crypto IRA product or their premium custody account. But no more promo code. Just use my link on down below. They'll know that I sent you over, and you'll get taken care of by them. Okay? So with that being said, guys, if you appreciate the update, please make sure you like this video, help us out by sharing it out far and wide, and all of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Thank you, and God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.